So they were called Bukini-kun in Japan, which means creepy. They were called La Pandilla Besora, the garbage gang, in Spain. They were called Gorbions, or snotlings, in Italy.
Gorbions?
Yeah. Los Crados, the filthies, in France. And, my favorite, Die Total Kaputen Kids, totally broken kids, in Germany.
Wait, so...
Here, they were the Garbage Pail Kids.
So, like, on a pack of cards in those countries, that's what it would say?
Yeah.
So in Germany, it said Die Total Kaputen Kids on a card.
Yes.
And people bought them.
People bought them.
They sold well in these other countries.
They sold very well. Yes, they did really well in Japan and Europe.
Okay. I had no idea they were internationally known.
So the Garbage Pail Kids. I collected them. Did you? No? Never? Never bought any?
I have some sitting right here, like copies of them. Like there's superhero ones they released recently. There's horror ones they released recently. Yeah. We actually showed a clip from the original movie,
which got me on this kick.
It got us flagged in our Lost Boys video. We got copyrighted for only the second time. Didn't stop us. You're allowed to use it, so I could actually put it in this video, but it would be copyrighted.
Right.
And it was only a commercial.
Yeah, I know. They don't, I don't know. They're trying to make every dime they can off that movie.
Are.
Yeah, so the Garbage Pail Kids were a series of sticker trading cards first released in 1985 by the Topps Company.
They were huge.
Yeah. The cards were invented by the artist and illustrator Art Spiegelman, who would later go on to win a Pulitzer Prize for his graphic novel series Mouse.
It's a big bleep.
Huge, huge. Spiegelman was working on another Topps product called Wacky Packages.
Oh, those are back in the 60s, though, right?
They came from the 60s all the way to the 80s,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he created a parody of the uber-popular and panic-inducing Cabbage Patch Kids, which he called the Garbage Pail Kid. Executives at Top loved the gag, but thought it had the potential to be its own series. So they made Spiegelman and fellow artist Mark Newgarden the editors and art directors for this new line.
So just to be clear, originally he wanted them to be part of Wacky Packs.
Just one.
His idea on his own.
Spiegelman, yeah.
And then they said no, it could be.
We want to do a whole other line. Yeah,
I didn't know about this.
They teamed him up with Mark Newgarden, and then they became the editors and art directors for that series.
That's interesting.
Right. The original series of 40 cards were all hand painted by artist John Pound in just 2 months. He did all of the main illustrations. All the backing art was done by an artist named Tom Bunk. And some of the back art was, you could make like a puzzle. Yeah. You know, make like big pictures out of it.
It was a lot of cards at that time. Stickers had puzzles on the back.
Yeah. And like I previously mentioned, the first series was released in June of 1985, and very quickly stores had trouble keeping them on the shelves. They sold out really, really fast.
They were the Pokemon of the 80s?
Big time. In the first series, there were 2 versions of each card. They had the same picture, but different names.
Right.
Yeah.
That continues today.
Right. They shared images with different names, like I said. So Atom Bomb might also be sold as Blasted Billy.
Okay.
And each card was designated by a number and letter assignations. So you'd have 1A, 1B, depending on the image.
On the name.
Right. And they would shift for a name. Right.
Okay.
The first card was Naughty Nick. He looked like Dracula, and he was attacking a Barbie doll. And that was card 1A. The second version of the same image would have that letter changed to B.
And what was his name?
I can't remember the name of the second one.
I'll put it up here.
Yeah.
This one's going to be an editing nightmare.
Right. Not really, no.
The runaway cards up here. Show everyone the cards you say.
No. The runaway success of the first series caused Topps to follow it with 9 more series in just 24 months.
Wow.
Right.
From flooding the market.
From 1985 to 1987. That also included 2 large format card editions and sets of fold-out posters that you could carry. Topps also licensed Halloween costumes, keychains, sunglasses, and tons of merchandise.
Garbage Pail Kids sunglasses.
Yeah, to merchandise on the trend. I think they just put out anything they could.
Merchandising
really
monsters.
Yeah. About the initial success of the series, the artist John Pound said in an interview in 2020, the original concept had real strengths. The concept's rebellious attitude and shock value gave it initial attention. Also in the 80s, Topps products were widely distributed, like in drugstores, variety stores, and convenience stores.
They were right at the counter.
These days, it would only be in specialty stores like comic shops. Back then, you go to any store, and they were there.
They were at the counter.
They were at the counter on the way to the register.
You saw Garbage Pail Kids at the counter, and you wanted a pack.
Exactly, you did. Most people involved in the creation and distribution of the card seem to agree on why it was so successful. Kids love subversive humor, silliness, and gross out jokes.
And you were always looking for your name.
Of
so you
course.
wanted your name.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in all, between 1985 and 1988, Topps released 15 series of Garbage Pail Kids.
How many cards in total?
40 in each series.
Wow. I didn't realize there were that
there
many.
There are that many.
Did you have a card?
original.
What was Brian?
I don't remember. No, I didn't have my name.
There had to be a Brian.
I don't remember my name being in it.
I doubt there was a Chad, but there certainly was a Brian.
Yeah, but it wasn't all sunshine and cashing checks for Topps. Along with Triumph, there were a lot of controversies, many related to the very factors that caused the card's success. The cards were banned in many schools throughout the country because they were considered a distraction and kind of disgusting.
Sam with his finger up his nose. Here shows mother wanted for child abuse. And you could put fill your mother's name in right here.
They're called the Garbage Pail Kids, a parody on Cabbage Patch Dolls, but parents aren't laughing.
He's sitting there with a button in his lap ready to, or he blows his head off, and when it comes off, it looks like the atomic bomb. It looks communistic. It looks like maybe someone is trying to break the American family.
The bubble gum and cards are made by a Pennsylvania company, but they're being sold locally at 7-Eleven stores and Toys R Us. Parents are banding together to get the product off store shelves. The protest is being organized by parents of children who attend the Daybridge Learning Center in Duncanville. Parents who put their concerns on paper in the form of a petition.
This is a petition that some of the parents have decided that we would like to circulate to try to get the Garbage Patch Kids taken off of the market. They depict violence and destruction of children and by children. It defaces different United States monuments and Uncle Sam.
7-year-old Joe Tucker says the Garbage Pail Kids are popular at his school.
Everybody in my classroom, they've always wanted them.
Duncanville parents will circulate the petition this weekend and take it to local distributors next week. Officials at 7-Eleven and Toys R Us were not available for comment today. Cindy Kirkendall, Channel 5 News.
There was actually a governmental ban in Mexico, because in Mexico it's illegal to depict children in a degrading or ridiculous manner.
Even though it was like comical?
Didn't matter. Yeah. In 1986, Topps was sued for copyright infringement by the original Appalachian Artworks. That was the rights holder for Cabbage Patch Kids. Topps tried to argue that Garbage Pail Kids were a parody and therefore protected under First Amendment free speech rights.
It should have been.
Yeah, so a parody should allow fair use.
Of course.
The courts disagreed. Topps negotiated an agreement with the rights holders that forced a change to the appearance of the characters on the cards and the logo in 1988.
Did they pay anything?
Yeah, there was a certain amount of money that went to Appalachian Artworks.
You lose.
By this time, though, the trend was already dying down. Series 15, released in December of 1988, would be the last of the original run. Topps actually canceled the Garbage Pail Kids in the middle of production of Series 16. Series 16 was half done.
Wow.
And they said, nah, that's enough.
Ooh, I bet you they're worth money.
Oh, yeah, here we go. In 1989, an uncut sheet of Series 16 cards was found by scavengers in a dumpster behind the Topps building, giving collectors a glimpse of what might have been. In 2002, the Topps Vault auctioned off some correction sheets and box proofs from Series 16. I couldn't find an exact amount, but I have a feeling it was pretty high.
It's always been very interesting. So, Topps initially made cards, and initially made sports cards, baseball cards,
right,
football cards. They weren't very highly valued, right?
Mm-mm.
So it was for kids. Kids would collect them,
right? Yep.
Put them in your bike spokes. You would trade them, flip them, do everything you could.
Sure.
But then in the 80s, we saw a trend in the early 1980s. Topps cards really started to go up in value.
Yeah.
And I always thought about this, like, they threw a lot of stuff away.
A lot.
And at some point, someone realized if we could go through the garbage of what Topps is throwing away, this stuff's going to be worth money because it's one of a kind in most cases.
Right.
Printing plates, errors, things that they weren't going to use. And they found this stuff in the garbage. And the same holds true for toy companies. There was this Hasbro. They threw away a lot of like Star Wars stuff, Hasbro, and you could go through their garbage
and find it. And
so someone did this, and I mean, I doubt that they were looking for Garbage Pail Kids. They were probably looking for
whatever.
value
They
of
found
baseball,
it.
but they found it, and they found an uncut sheet of something that wasn't released. That's
Yeah.
amazing to me.
Incredible, right?
Yeah.
So herein steps the angel nostalgia. It always comes in.
People get older, they long for what they had when they were children.
Exactly. Topps resurrected the Garbage Pail Kids for an all-new series in 2003.
Did they get the rights this time?
Yes. This proved successful enough to prompt flashback re-releases of the original cards in 2010. Since then, collectors have gotten a brand new series in 2012, brand new series Chrome series, and another brand new series in 2013. The new cards changed to a new format in 2014, using that year to designate the series and using what's called an Olympic-style format.
Okay.
They were parodying the Olympics in some way. So the cards have this like red, white, and blue border and everything. In 2016, the format was changed again to spoof different pop culture subjects. This is where we start getting the superheroes, the monster movies,
horror,
and all that stuff. Controversy followed Garbage Pail Kids into the new series. In 2021, there was an outcry against the card BTS Bruisers. You know the K-pop group BTS?
Yeah.
Okay. They depicted that group stuck in a whack-a-mole game wherein the members of the K-pop group were being bashed by a Grammy.
Okay.
Okay. People thought it was insensitive in a time where anti-Asian bias attacks had been increasing steadily. So Topps apologized and actually pulled the card from the market.
That's worth money then.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Right. And of course, there was tie-in media for the original series. Now we got to go back a little bit to the late 80s. Because in the 1980s, if you have a successful toy or you have a successful show,
you need a half-hour commercial.
You need half-hour commercials, right?
You do.
So, an animated show was produced in Canada by CBS Entertainment, intended to be broadcast on all CBS affiliates. One episode aired. There was an outcry from parents groups. The rest of the series was canceled.
They only had one episode of the...
One episode aired.
I didn't know
I
that.
believe it is possible to still get this on DVD.
The one episode?
No, the whole series. I think you can get
And
it.
they've never thought about releasing it streaming to one of the streaming services?
No.
Okay.
Not that I've noticed, no.
What would... What was the outcry based on?
You got to see the characters.
Okay.
Characters look deformed, and I think they thought it was a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Not politically correct.
Very. Yeah. Garbage Pail Kids the movie was released in April of 1987. Can't get into the details here, but it only made $1.6 million against a $1 million budget.
That movie's awful.
It holds a 2.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
It's hard to watch.
And considered one of the worst American films ever made.
It is. And they expected it to be a box office smash.
I would spend a little more time on the movie and how it got that way, but believe me, that's a whole other video.
That's another episode.
Right. Again, Angel nostalgia kicks in here again. There is now in development a new Garbage Pail Kids animated series, possibly going to HBO or HBO Max. Or This one's going to be headed up by Danny McBride.
Oh, okay.
And his Rough House Pictures.
So he's going to voice somebody.
Right.
And have his crew voice a bunch of characters.
Yeah, there's no word on when this might premiere.
Never is my guess.
The Garbage Pail Kids, other than being a sort of fun little nostalgia thing, it was a kicking point of inspiration for a lot of artists and illustrators. For many, it was the introduction to subversive art, like the kinds of things you find in Mad Magazine or Raw Magazine, which was also created by Art
So how does Mad Magazine get away with all their parodies and everything that they do, where Topps couldn't do?
I don't know. I don't know why it was different. I have a feeling millions of dollars was the difference.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, Topps had millions of dollars at the time then.
They did, but Mad Magazine never made that much money. Never made as much money as
You're
Garbage
saying
Pail
it
Kids.
was way too popular. It became too popular.
I think that's
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that probably has something to
Okay.
do with it. And this was an introduction for a lot of people to the work of Spiegelman and Newgarden, who were subversive artists since the 60s.
Yeah.
Hawaiian street artist named Buff Monster. His work is really cool. Look
That's
him
what
up.
his mother named him?
No.
Buff, last name Monster?
He created his own series of spoof cards called Melty Misfits. He said, based on Garbage Pail Kids,
Right.
obviously. He said in an interview with Den of Geek in 2020, if you look at most trading cards, they are less than what they are about, right? He said having a baseball card is less than experience than watching a game.
Of course it is.
But Garbage Pail Kids stand out because the art was made for the cards. So the card was the thing.
The experience was the card.
Right. The card wasn't some sub version or under version of something else. It was the point of making the card in the first place.
And it was the best part of the whole thing. Movie failed. Animated series failed. The cards stood strong. And still to this day stand strong.
And in that way, it's similar to another really controversial card collection from the 1960s, also by Topps, Mars Attacks.
Oh, yeah.
It was super controversial when it
Because
came out.
there was a lot of depictions of gore.
It was
and
very gory, very
horrific.
violent.
Yeah.
We should do a show on Mars Attacks.
At some point
as well.
we will.
Yeah. So whether you agree that Garbage Pail Kids was actually art or was it just juvenile gross out humor, they did capture a sort of unique moment of the 1980s.
Absolutely.
Where you could get this kind of weird stuff in just about any place you went. And like a card store or a chain store or anywhere, drugstore, it was everywhere. And that's how these phenomena became phenomenon, I guess.
And if you were going to do a time capsule from the 1980s, you would definitely throw a pack of Garbage Pail Kids in there.
Oh, absolutely. And it captured that special moment. You know, whether it was, just cartoon kids picking their nose and getting blown up or this kind of shared experience that we all had together. That's it for Garbage Pail Kids, the trading cards.
You made them sound spectacular.
Right?
You did. You made them much better than they were. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
You have inspired me to continue not collecting Garbage Pail Kids.
I thought maybe this would get you going.
No.
All right. Well, until then.
Love what you collect. Love what you collect.
Collect what you love.
I'm leaving that in.